5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wheel straight, put on the brake.
In-depth race recaps.
Coming to the line, Ryan Blaney's gonna do it!
Pit stops and strategy breakdown.
Way to stick with it, buddy. Proud of you. Yeah, man, really good quality in there. Good job.
Fantasy racing results and insights.
Hey, driver, great job there, bud. Hey, boss.
Your weekly destination for everything Ryan Blaney and Team 12.
Looking forward to seeing you down the victory lane.
This is the Team Blaney podcast.
I'm still Team Blaney.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 219 of the Team Blaney podcast. My name is Adam Rogers, and alongside me is co-host Steve Mez. This week, we're here to break down Ryan Blaney's victory in the Straight Talk Wireless 400 at Phoenix Raceway.
Ryan Blaney coming to 2 to go, and Bell has chopped it down inside 0.6 of a second.
There's another big cut into it, 28.47 to a 28.30.
Well, like you said, Clint, you just have to hit your mark. I like Ryan Blaney's car down on the bottom of this racetrack on both ends. That's where Christopher Bell wants to be right now, and I just parked that thing on the bottom to do all I can do for the next 2 laps to make sure it doesn't miss that line. No big mistakes.
Both races last year here decided by a last lap pass. White flag, 1 lap to go, sponsored by Credit One Bank. Half a second. Might as well be from here to eternity.
What a roller coaster of a day. Battled adversity, troubles in the pits, fast race car, past the field not once but twice. Unbelievable.
That's what a championship team does, Clint. They've been here before.
To complete the weekend sweep for the most admired man in American motorsports, Ryan Blaney wins for Ford and Roger Penske.
Yeah. Good job.
Capping a huge weekend in Phoenix.
Well, how about that, Steve? What a fantastic way to start off this week's episode 219 of the show. For the first time this early in a season, 4th race in, Ryan Blaney goes to victory lane. Back-to-back wins at Phoenix Raceway. After all those years and all those races of running really well there, two race weekends in a row, they go to victory lane. And yes, celebrating with 10 runner. Am I right?
That's right. We made it fun. But we didn't even need this to make it fun. But wondering how hard it'd be to drink this with the mustache in it.
Yeah, and what's really funny about that is I definitely felt like there was a couple points during this race where maybe some 10 runner was going to be needed just to calm the nerves or get through the end of this thing. But the team definitely persevered. And if anyone looked at our social media posts, and we'll go through the race recap and everything that happened, I said, this is a race, and he's done it before, but I don't know to this level, to this extent. This is a race where the driver put the entire team on his shoulders and drove them to victory lane. Yeah,
there were definitely moments that would have been like a lot bigger discussion, but it's team building, and it was team oriented and perseverance, right? That's the word he used it a couple different times. Got out of the car and just talked about perseverance. And you know what? If you're going to do anything like that, do it now. Build character, and you'll have some character later on when you need it at the end. But even before Ryan Blaney's win on Sunday, it was a big weekend for motorsports in general, because you had NASCAR, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, you had the NASCAR Cup Series on Sunday, and that Saturday doubleheader with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, you had IndyCar intermingling as well. I did get an opportunity to watch that race. Man, those guys go fast around there. And I think it was the first time since 2018, I think, that they had actually raced there. So there's been a pretty big gap. And a Team Penske driver went to victory lane on Saturday, too. Yeah, put the pressure on, right? They all of a sudden said, you have to complete the double tomorrow. And, they had a couple chances. A couple guys could do it. But at the end, we knew who had the best chance. And definitely was really cool to see that, too, because it's the 60th year of Penske, and they're doing everything to celebrate the 60 years of Penske racing, and to have these kind of things. Like Ryan and Joseph did this with the double with the 500 and the 600, right? Yep. A couple years ago. So for them to do the same type of thing now in the same weekend in the same place, it's really, really cool, really, really special. And hopefully Ryan not only got to celebrate when he got home, but then he stayed out of trouble when he got home too.
Now, yeah. Now, the other thing to talk about this weekend is that we saw a different Phoenix race. There was a lot of cautions. I think 12 cautions, and there could have been more. NASCAR's continued to do a pretty decent job of holding the flag when it comes to some of these one single car spins and things like that, waiting for them to get to pit road. But we did actually see, from at least in my opinion and some other folks, a lot of change when it comes to tire wear and the extra horsepower that was brought with it. There's lots of comers and goers, lots of teams still pushing the limits. You saw that with the 19 again, who had several tire issues in the fall race and continued on and had another major failure in this race as well. Were you surprised by the evolution of the racing product, and then also just the way things played out with the horsepower, with the tire wear?
That's the part I loved about it the most is we knew that there was going to be this package, and this was a tire combination that they brought in the fall last year. But then with this horsepower package, we're going to be on the accelerator differently. We're going to be on the brake differently, and how will that affect things? And it, and then downshifting and upshifting, and it did affect things, and it affected things enough where that 2 to 3 tenths of a second speed difference usually means you're stuck behind somebody. But at least in Ryan's case and a couple other guys, that 2 to 3 tenths difference, they were still able to make passes. And I think that's what made it better than anything else. There was a huge number of passes, and I would say not just Ryan, but a huge number of passes overall on the day, just based on those kind of things. So the racing action, was much better because of it. It'd be interesting to see what's going to be like at the next short track when they use this same setup.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see what happens when they go to Martinsville. And then from what I understand, they're bringing this to Bristol for the first time. Bristol has been under, I think, the intermediate package for the last few times with different tires. So this could be very interesting. But Martinsville, when you're talking about guys coming off the corner, they could just, they're still going to be shifting. So there's still going to be that. But hopefully maybe there's a little bit more wheel spin. Before we get into the recap, and I should have addressed this maybe right off the top. The mustache. Last week on the show, you hid this from me. We, when people tune into our live stream right away, there's a countdown clock and our video goes away, so I can't see Steve anymore. We come on the air and he pops up and he has this mustache on. So it's back again this week. Explain why this had to come.
Yeah, it has to now, right? At this point, you got to just keep going. You don't mess with the streak. Once you've started a streak, you don't mess with the streak. So, maybe he goes on a little Tyler type streak here, and then I'll just be wearing this every week. So I'm fine with it. I love, I kind of think it looks pretty good. We know that there's somebody asked the question on one of our posts on, I think, Facebook or something like that, about who finished first. Did Ryan or the mustache finish first? And kind of unclear. I think the mustache might have got out there by a nose.
Yeah, I think in the Cars film, I think he sticks his tongue out to go across the line. Yeah, this one, it's the whiskers kind of. Reaching out across. So we got lots to talk about. A lot of, again, you said what we're going to go through. There was points here where I would have dreaded doing this today, and I would have dreaded hearing, because we consume a lot of the major podcasts. I would have dreaded just hearing the media coverage all week long. But there's going to be a happy ending when it comes to the end of this show. So I'm looking forward to that. Jump into it right now. We had practice, we had qualifying, we had a race, and let's go.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's start with practice Saturday. Group 1 goes out, and of course that's the lower end of finishers in the matrix, finishers from last week and in the matrix and so forth. And 5 minutes in, the fast lap was the 7 car in that grouping, and then the top 5 was in the single lap was 7, 77, 19, 1, and 2. As it went on, the best 10, 15, 20, 25 lap averages was the 2 car. And the 1 car was P2 to that. So we knew that, definitely knowing about what we know about the 1, Austin has run really well there the last, year and a half. So, he was very good in the fall, and it kind of showed here in this practice. Then all of a sudden in that practice, the 17 with a right front flat, 35 slapping the wall in 1 and 2. He's got a flat left rear. The 88 ran 40 laps, which was kind of interesting too. He tried to run out the whole thing. So we get to group 2, Ryan's group, of course, and 2 laps in, goes to like the second fastest of Group 2, which was P7 overall. What's kind of weird is this situation, the second group was a little slower than the first group. Usually it's the other way around. Usually the first group takes up some of the rubber, and that, for some reason I think the track temperature was going up a little bit at this point, and the second group was a little slower. But overall was like best, in the group, best 5 and 10 lap average. And then 15 lap average was best overall in the group. Then 12 minutes in, one or two of the cars come in, and he gets like the 16 goes by on pressure tires. But then we get a caution for the 6 in the fence in 3, and it looked like he had a right front. 20 lap average was second overall behind the 2, and that's with both groups. And that's kind of really telling because he was in the slower practice session and was almost as fast as the fastest guy in the first session. They came back out with about 9 minutes left. Then at 4 minutes to go, the 45 spins it out in 1 and 2. Luckily, he didn't hit anything. And they ran a pit road speed at this point, and they were too fast in section 10 was the only thing, Jonathan. So they kind of do that to make sure their lights are going to be right for Sunday. Qualifying happening here, and he goes out 33rd out of 37. And then so 19 guys into qualifying here. The 2 is P1. So he put a really good lap up, and we'll watch guy after guy after guy on their screen that they try to show you the ghost car. Try to get to him, down the back straight. They're near him, then he can't put it down in 3 and 4 the way he could, and he just kept staying number 1 for the longest time. The 22 went out 27th, and he took it to P1, about almost 2/10 quicker than the 2. It's kind of a crazy gap there at the top. When Ryan gets in the car, he discussed the dog leg with what Joey did, and then Ryan takes it to P5 with 4 guys left, and nobody else gets to him, so he gets P5. And then Austin was P2, and Joey with the pole. So Saturday, you don't win it on Saturday, but you can definitely set yourself up for better pit stalls and so forth on Saturday.
Yeah, and that's relatively new for them at Phoenix, and even all last year. A lot of the tracks where they excelled the most on speed, they didn't always necessarily qualify the best. Phoenix specifically, usually 10th or worse, in the championship 4 races, sometime 13th, 14th, 15th. I mentioned last week that I didn't care about stage points as much because we were trying to go for a win at a road course. But this week, I cared a lot about where they qualified because it would set them up for the best opportunity to get the most stage points early on in the race and then bank on having a great finish. So starting 5th, I had hoped maybe he had a slight chance at the pole with as fast as his teammates were, but I could not complain about a fifth place starting position.
Yeah, so going into Sunday here, stages of 60, 185, and 312, 9 sets of tires, a fuel run of 92 to 100. And we had the 38, the 6, and the 77 to the rear. There were, I think, unapproved adjustments. 38 had something where they had a pass-through penalty too to start the race. Pit stall 29, opening in front, which is always good. Especially you see a pit stop later in the race on the in-car camera where he pitted right behind the car that was pitting in that other pit stall in front of him. And that gap is important because it helps the pit crew get out there where they don't have to wait as much, or sometimes Ryan will hold up a hair just to make sure that his pit crew gets clear, but he didn't have to in this situation because they had an opening.
And now it was a good stall because of the opening. It did seem maybe slightly problematic with how far back he was compared to the leaders and kind of having to come around the bend toward the end of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, no matter what, Joey was really going to have the best stall of the day. You'll see that in the first few pit stops, the advantage that he gets. But regardless, it's still, like you said, always good to have the opening.
The pit stall, I mean, the pit road speed is a really interesting thing to listen to when they run it right before the race, because Tim was giving him where the points are that they change the lights. And it's really, like I said, it's really kind of interesting where he's got to hit certain speeds, and especially because of the arc of the turn, at that end of the track. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you would
they
hear
do
he would
really.
say, "Okay, now down to 8 or down to 4," whatever it was. But you're right. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
true.
It's really so minute of a thing, but they were really that close on trying to make sure they maximize pit road speed. So all behind us, by the way, too. So lap 1 here, we sort out the P6. Lap 3 here, side by side with the 1, and the 24 and the 7 are kind of in front, and they're battling side by side, the same as we're battling side by side. At lap 5, we get under the 24 and the 7. Um, and it kind of gets us up there a little bit. At lap 7 here, we're still door to door with the 7, but we're all the way to P4 because we've kind of made that pass. And then at lap 9, we finally clear the 7 with the 22 leading. Lap 10, Tim says those great words we always love to hear: fastest car on the track. And you got to kind of judge that also based on where he is with the car in front of him. If he's like a second behind somebody, he's going to be able to run some clean laps for a little bit too and keep that speed, you know. And then when he gets up on somebody, you got to kind of judge that too. It might slow a little bit and not be quite as fast as everybody on the track because he's trying to figure out how to get around him. Lap 12 here, we passed the 5 to get to third, and we are 2.146 back of the P1, the 22. At lap 15, we passed the 2 to get to P2, and 2.131 back. So we kind of like still same amount of distance there. Lap 20 though, it's 1.585 back. But lap 23, 0.983. And Tim says about the fastest car every lap right now. And lap 25 here, it's all the way down to 0.748 back. At lap 30, 0.0375 back. At lap 35, 0.211 back. Now at lap 45, tons of lap traffic at this point. We went green. We went green more than 30 laps. This is something that doesn't happen as the race goes on because we had a bunch more cautions as the race goes on. But at this point, tons of lap traffic. How are we handling lap traffic? How's the guys around us handling it? And at lap 46, we passed the 22. Get to P1. We kind of, we're in a 3 wide there, using the 3 car wide, and it's a pick. And
Good
then
move.
at lap 55 here, crazy, like I say, I got again crazy lap traffic written down. Lap 60, winning the stage. So, right away, Ryan's only comments really is that it needs the rears to stay with me a little longer. And from 26 back is down 1 lap. So he lapped about 10 guys in that short stage, with no pitting. I was really excited, hoping the rest of the race would be pretty green because I wanted to see long green runs where he just does this and then how many guys they would have lapped. And I commented, I was texting back and forth with one of the guys from Racing Addicts podcast, Alex, and it said that I says, if they run long green enough here, you're going to see maybe 10 guys on the lead lap by the end of this race if it just does that. But we're not that lucky. So we're in for 4 tires here. It's a 10.020 stop. In P1, out P3, and the 20 car was the fastest pit stop here. They're a 9.440. There's something going on at Gibbs that's just a little bit different. And until everybody else can figure out not only how to do it like Gibbs does it, but to get, their guys trained like that, it's pretty special what they do because every one of those pit stops during the day, there's somebody from Gibbs who really puts it out there.
And they're pretty consistently the fastest. And I think 2311 was the last ones to really start beating them because they're the ones that invented the behind the back jack swing stuff. But then Gibbs quickly, I think, took that technique over, and now they've improved upon everything. So yeah, a lot of the pit crews are chasing those guys every week.
Yeah, ran with it. So for this choose here, the 20 is on the inside. We take the outside here and restart lap 70. Clearing the 11 by turn 2 to get to P3. At lap 73, we pass the 22 to get to P2. And flip the page. Lap 80 here, 1.226 back, about the same lap time. So the 20 and us are looking like the class of the field at this point. we got to get closer to them, but about the same lap times.
And that
lap
makes a lot
85,
of sense because they're the last two guys that went to victory lane at Phoenix. The 20 multiple times in the spring race, and then Ryan in the fall. So they definitely, pound for pound, were pretty equally matched, I think, all race long.
Yeah. So lap 90 here, 1.067 back, and at lap 93 made a caution for the 8 hitting the wall in turn 2. The 97 also spins out to start finish line. Jonathan and Ryan discuss adjusting back the other way a smidge. So they made an adjustment, and they're talking about kind of like taking it back a hair, hitting for 4 tires here, and it's a 9.760 stop. But as they go back on the track, and it's something Ryan actually picked up. Ryan saw that the left front looked a little bit hung up or something was going on there. So they checked the video quickly, and they decided to just bring it back around. And they tightened it back up. So Ryan literally right away, it's a long way to go. We'll get it back. And for this next choose, he ends up on the inside, restarting lap 101 from 24th. At lap 102, we get a caution. We're up to 22nd. The 9 and the 7 are involved in this one. We're staying out. The next choose here, the 20 is once again leading. Ryan starts on the inside here, and the inside is interesting. Always interesting to start on because you get that 5 or 6 wide thing. As soon as you get to the start finish line, you can bend it down the dog leg if you want. And at lap 110 here, we pass the 5, the 42, the 16, the 35, and the 6 within that lap at both ends of the track, right? All the way to 16th. That was a fabulous lap. I got to go back and find that one. There's one later on that I definitely did find, and I posted it today, where he went from 5th to 2nd. But on this one here, he gets all the way to 16th. At lap 112 here, we pass the 34 to get to 15th. The next lap, passing the 60 to get to 14th. Lap 115, passing the 3 to get to 13th. Now the 22 is leading at this point. At lap 117, passing the 1 to get to 12th. At lap 3, passing 17 to 11th. And then at lap 125, we pass the 71 to get to 10th. And at this point, I've got a note here because my wife, when we watch these races, she's also on Twitter. And Twitter is amazing because, things bouncing off satellites and so forth. Somehow Twitter gets to us faster. She reports before the TV even reports this vibration that the 19 car is starting to have. And we kind of make note of it here, but later on it ends up, killing the car. Literally, like, what is that? What lap did I say that was? So lap 125. So 6 laps later, we get a caution for the 19. And we're up to P9. So he says we're starving for the clean air. And, John says, bring it to us. We'll leave it as it is because we know that the main problems are just dirty air. And pitting 4 tires here. And this is the left rear, right? This is literally, now I'm not going to diagnose any of this stuff. We just mentioned what had happened, and we're mentioning this was the left rear, and he does go to the 22's pit box. They catch this quickly before they even get off pit road. And he goes all the way to the 22's pit box, who's the first pit box on pit road, and stops and they fix it. Now, anybody wants this diagnosed, Bozy Taterovic, I'm not sure which, is on Twitter, on X. He also works for Dirty Mo Media now too, so he might even have video on this even. But on X today, he posted a series of different things about what happened, what the reaction was, and how the second may have been a reaction to the first, and so forth. They cleaned this up, and these guys are going to be fine. This is just a 1 or 2 time thing, but the more they work together, this type of stuff will get cleaned up. So ends up being, because he's pitting out of the box, tail end the longest line here, 22 leading. So restarting at lap 137 here, the 20 ends up taking the lead, and then here we go with some passing. This is fun, always fun on the in-car camera. If you guys don't have the in-car camera, I know it's so much a month and so forth, but man, is this a lot of fun to watch. Lap 140, past the 47, 29th here. Next lap, 43 in the 21 to 27. Next lap, 88 to 26. Next lap is 48, past the 48 to 25th. Lap 144, past the 34 to get to 24th. At lap 138 and the 10 to get to 22nd. lap 146, passing the 7 and the 35 to get to 20th. At lap 148, passing the 16 to get to 19th. 153, this takes a couple laps here. 153 to get passing the 42 to get to 18th. At lap 154, we passed the 9. We're all the way to 17th already. And then at lap 157, a caution for the 4 car. And the 24 ends up smoking on this one. And, Ryan basically says something about, let's keep our track position here this time.
There's several, and I think he sees the 71 smoking. Like, there's several guys here. Yep. And what I think actually happens under this is the 4 lost his brake rotor. It exploded. So there's some debris out there on the track, and I think some guys were running that over, and that was cutting their tires down more so than necessarily tire wear itself. But it did seem like out of nowhere there was just a rash of them down in that sequence. So that was kind of crazy. But and we've seen that at Phoenix before. We saw that with the 20 car in Ryan's championship race. The 20 car lost his brake rotor, went straight into the wall, I think, in the first stage of that race. So it happens there.
This later on, we're going to talk about what everybody's going to talk about as the biggest strategy call of the race. This right here may be the biggest strategy call of the race. At this point, they talk about putting the scuffs on. They're P15, and the 20 is leading. But Tim says that watch for the rotor parts here. We're pitting for 4 tires. A couple of people took 2. A couple of people stay out. Pit stop is a 10.580. 3 cars stay out, and 3 are on 2 tires. And the 60 is P1, one of the cars that stayed out. The 6 and the 11 also are out there. The 17 and the 2, those are some of the 2 tire stops. So we're P16, though, for this restart, taking the inside. Restarting at lap 167. The 11 actually takes the lead for a minute. At lap 169 here, we're kind of fell back a hair on this restart to 22nd. It was a couple guys on the 0 tires, and this was the problem, is they fell backward like in a hurry. And once again, the in-car camera was real interesting to see these guys because they're coming backward, and you're trying to avoid them, and other people are trying to avoid them, and trying not to cause another accident. And this is where he loses position. It's not about being slower. It's not about anybody making a ballsy move around him. It was more about everybody just trying to avoid the cars coming back.
Yeah, and this was really crucial because, 6 and 60 no tires, they just, fall right through the field. The 11 and a couple others on 2 fared fairly well for a little while up front. Yeah. So that's one of those things the crew chiefs can kind of put in their memory bank for what's going to happen later on in the race.
Yeah. So by lap 171, he's back to P16. And at 174, passing the 38 to get to 15th. At 176, passes the 3 to get to 14th. At 178, passing the 21 to get to 13th. At 184, passing the 9 to get to 12th. The 20 wins stage 2, Ryan's P12. So now we got the whole, big thing coming up with the big stage, longest stage of the day. And we've got a set of tires that not everybody else has, too, because we're going with that scuffs there. We've saved a set. And Ryan tells them we've lost some of the turn in 3 and 4 here. At lap 190 to finally open the pits. It took them a long time to get the pits open on this. It's a 10.660 stop. In P12, out P11. So once again, these are pretty good stops. You're gaining a spot or 2 when you get a nice regular stop in there. Jonathan says at this point we still have 3 sets of stickers down here, which I think kind of like surprises Ryan a little bit because he thought they burnt up a lot of tires with these cautions. The 20 is leading here with Ryan ended up on the inside for the restart lap 196. At lap 198, we passed the 11 to get to 9th. At lap 200, passing the 54 and the 77 to get to 7th. At lap 204, passing the 45 and the 17 to get to 5th. At lap 206, passing the 2 car to get to 4th. And then we get a caution at lap 209, the 60 spinning in 1, the 47 and the 88 we're in on this. We're up to P4, and Ryan tells Tim to tell Austin or his spotter thanks. Austin really didn't fight Ryan real long. He let Ryan get by, knowing Ryan was going to be way faster than him at this point. So Jonathan says we're going to do a number 8 here. It's a 4-tire stop. 10.40. They're P10. And the only reason they're P10 is the 21 and the 9 stay out. And then you've got the 20, the 54, the 17, the 1, and the 48 taking 2 tires. So actually, there's a whole plethora of different ideas here that kind of cause some changes in track position. Inside for this choose here, restart lap 216, and right away we're going to get a caution with the 2, the 48, and the 1. And I think even the 23 got a little damage on this, but that's this crazy one that rips the 2 up, puts him against the wall. Ryan's literally on the. I don't know if I have it in the notes here, but he asks once or twice how he's doing, if he gets out of the car or not, because it looked pretty bad down there. Tim tells them we're the first car on 4 tires right now. So that's another kind of an encouraging thing if they get to a regular restart. So the 21 leads this on the inside. Ryan's on the inside. I believe this is the one where, yeah, this is it. So he's P6 on this restart. And actually, technically, it's P5 because he chose the inside. He's in row 3. And the restart lap 225, all the way to second by the time he comes back around the track. He shoots the gap between 3 guys down in 1 and 2. And he gets the 21 to his outside before he gets to the start-finish line, takes all 3 of those positions away, and now he's got the 20 right where he wants them.
I've solved the restart issue, Steve. He doesn't always fire off the best on restarts. He just needs better tires than everybody else every time.
that kind of makes a difference, right?
Let's make that happen.
Yes. Lap 230 here, we're 0.215 back. And Tim tells them, that the 20 has 16 laps on his lefts at this point. So it should be a little bit of an advantage to get to him, but I think they've kind of equaled out a little bit at this point. Lap 240, Ryan makes a comment about the Toyota straightaway speeds. They've got a little bit of an advantage down the straightaways, and Ryan definitely has an advantage the way he gets into the turn and out of the turn. But
I didn't see it as much here, but later on in the race, when the 45 kind of makes his way into the top 5, and there's a point when Ryan and him are battling, you see it again. You see, like, the 45 was on the outside, and you could just see him take off out of the corners every time. And I'm like, how do we get that? Let's just get a little bit of that.
What's interesting though, he's still chasing him and only a 10th back. He's 0.112 back. Lap 245, we get the caution for the 97. Talked about he would love to have a little more straightaway speed here. He's a little bit snug. He did bump the 20 coming out of 1 and 2 right before this caution happened. He kind of got even, and then the caution happened, and it was just enough where he was still behind him. But it's so horrible because if this caution doesn't happen, I think that's where he makes the move past him. And then once he gets to the clean air, he'll have that advantage down each end of the track, and that might have been it if it would have stayed green, right? So they're pitting for 4 tires here. In P2, off P3. Once again, the 20 car is another 9.440. The 54, once again, another Gibbs car, 9.70. And Ryan was a 10.060. So it wasn't really far off, but just far off where one guy got past him there. TV says, TV mentions it's a net loss on pit road of 24 positions on the day. But Jonathan does tell him, we got one more set of stickers down here. So if something else happens between now and the end of the race, right? 20 taking the inside here, or the outside, 54 on the inside, and 12 goes to the outside of row 2. Restart lap 252 here. We clear to P3 by turn 2. And then at lap 253, next lap, we get a caution, the 16, and then the 22, the 7, the 22, the 21 are involved. At this point, lap 260, the top 10 looks like this. And I didn't want to read this off just because it's some different numbers up in here too. The 20, the 54, the 12, the 11, the 5, the 23, the 45, the 24, the 77, right? So, a couple different things that haven't been there all day. Like the 45 has quietly creeped his way right up in there. The 5 car talked about Saturday, qualifying went decent, but they still were missing something. Well, they found it somewhere because they're in the top 5 at this point. So for this next choose here, the 20s on the inside, the fifth or the outside, the 54 on the inside, Ryan on the outside of row 2, the 11 on his inside. He's going to have the 5, the restart lap 263 here. The 5 goes around the outside of everybody in this, and the 45, also kind of gets by. We're all the way back to P5. Then lap 269, passing the 45 to get to 4th. Lap 270, the 45 kind of goes back and forth with him a little bit. But by 271, he's passed him for clear. And then at lap 273, we passed the 5 to get to 3rd. And at lap 280, 2/10 back of the 54, but 2.945 back of the 20. So it's, got to get past the 54 so we can do what we got to do to get back to the 20 here. But lap 281, he does pass the 54. And he is 0.2895 back. And at lap 285, it's 3.193 back. So it's kind of like equaled out to right around 3 seconds now. And
yeah, and I have to say at this point, I was okay with the fact. I was like, he's battled back so much today. They're going to cruise now to a P2 finish because, again, we said that he and the 20 are pretty evenly matched, and much like last week with the 45, even though totally different kind of course, whoever's out front in that clean air is going to have the advantage. So I thought that was going to be it. We'll finally probably get this long run to the finish that we usually really want. Maybe he keeps closing the gap a little bit, but the 20 is going to be really good about managing his stuff and managing his gap. I was like, okay, we'll get out of here with the top 5. They can regroup. Really solid day. It's not been nice to have winning speed a couple of weeks in a row.
Yeah, and it would have been a great points day, otherwise. Lap 287, then we get a caution for the 3 in turn 2. And Ryan says something about, are we going to do what we talked about? So once again, a meeting that happened, early in the day somewhere. And Jonathan says yellow, and Ryan says 10-4. So Jonathan double checks with him. You're all good with that because he just wants to make sure if we're going to do this, you're the driver. And yes, sir, he says. 2 tire stop. In P2, out there P2 with the 54 P1. And what's interesting is the 20 took 4, so the 20 went back positions. The 54 jumped us a position, but here was what it was. The 54 did a 4.260 2-tire stop to our 4.340 2-tire stop. So they got about a 10th. And
did you see how he got it, Steve?
He bounced off the hood.
Yep. Ryan waited for Keyston to get around the car as normally happens. The 54 tire changer, who is actually a Gibbs, his cousin, has to leap over the hood. And I said, well, that's one way to gain a 10th.
I'll say this about, because I've been watching, Skip do it for a couple of years and Keyston doing it now. Ryan didn't wait. What Keyston does is he takes a better route. The front of the car is going to turn right and spin right. Okay. If you go straight across the nose, you're going to get hit. But if you go at an angle away from the car, almost a 45, if you watch the in-car camera on this, Keyston gets done with that tire and he gets past the right front on about a 45-degree angle going away. And what that does is it gives the car enough time to turn back underneath him. I think his cousin went straight across the nose and he got the nose because of it. But it worked out for him,
So here's what this sets up. You have Ryan with 2 tires. You have the 54 with 2 tires. Ryan, absolutely the better car. I'm convinced he can pass the 54. The 20, class of the field car, 4 tires. He needs this to go green to the finish.
P8. Okay, so P8. So he's got to climb over a couple guys on 2 tires also to do this.
So he could do it with the speed he has.
He's got, and for this choose, the 54 taking the outside, Ryan with the 12 taking the inside here. I believe it was the 5 in the outside of row 2 and the 45 behind us. And, it's kind of crazy because you want to protect the bottom, protect the middle. You're going to hit the dog leg. Restarting a lap 294 here. And pretty much right away, we get a caution for the 42 and the 38. And Larson got in there, got in the middle of things. So Larson got to P3. We're P3, and Larson got to P2. Now this eats up some laps, which is great because now the guys who were on tires are still back in 7th or 8th, and we got another restart and less laps to make up the ground.
Normally, I hate, especially for Ryan, because he's lost races in this fashion. I hate these late race restarts. This is the one time though where he's out there on 2 and the 20. Yeah, the 20's best car, 4 tires. He needs these laps to get to the win. So I'm okay with it. I'm like, you know what? Take a few more laps, NASCAR.
Yeah.
I wasn't even worried about the 5. The 5 was getting amazing restarts, but as soon as they would get going, he didn't have the car to hang. So I wasn't necessarily worried about that. And I knew he could get the 54. So I was okay with them taking their time on these caution laps.
Yeah. The 11 actually has gotten to P7, and he is actually the first guy on 4 fresh ones at this point. Once again, on this choose, the 54 on the outside, the 5 on the inside. Ryan chooses the outside behind the 54, and he's going to have the 24 to his inside, and then the 71 behind him. So its outside lane is a little different because you got to protect middle and then try to protect the outside. We restart lap 300, so we got basically what's going to be 11, 12 laps to the end here. Clears the 5 in 1 and 2. So right away, we take care of that situation. And then at lap 302, passing the 54 to get to P1. And Tim is like, hit your marks here. At lap 305, the 20 has made it to P2. So with 7 laps to go, but it's a 1 second advantage. And then for I got,
he's coming. He's coming.
Yeah, I don't have any other notes because it's just watching timing and scoring. And the phone is on the TV, so we know a little bit ahead of time what happens. But the 20 does make up some ground in those last couple laps. I wonder how much of it is Ryan being careful too, to tell you the truth. The TV commentators say it on there. We heard earlier about holding your line and running your line. He was going to dirty air it up for the 20 best he could too if the 20 got closer. But it was beautiful. Just running consistent, good laps right down to the finish. The call was just a wonderful call to take to. It's the same call they made last year, right? At the race last year at the end of the year. So great job by Jonathan. And they were just persevered. That's the other note I have here. Persevered. And that's what Ryan says, getting out of the car and in any interview from that point forward. And like I said, hopefully he didn't get in any trouble when he got home today.
Yeah, absolutely incredible win. I've heard a lot of people mention the fact that through the adversity, how calm Ryan was on the radio all throughout the day. And in our Discord chat and beyond, you could tell, like we're talking about it, you could tell Fox was like, they were like praying for it to be classic Ryan Blaney pop off on the radio kind of a thing. And they got one little tiny snippet. And I knew when I heard it that they would find it immediately. And they did. Like it happens at a caution break there when, the second time that he got sent to the back and he had passed some cars, and all he really came on and just said was like, we need to keep our track position. And then he said it a little emphatically, but then was quick to just say, because it's really hard to pass back here. And as soon as Fox heard that, boom, they put it on the TV. And I'm like, they've been waiting for this all race long because here we go. But then from then on, it was calm the rest of the way. He was confident in the car. He knew he could make the passes that he needed to make. And I think in post-race, he even mentioned it himself that he's like, yeah, they didn't get anything from me because I just decided not to say anything. So it's I don't like the fact that it's in his head. But either way, whatever it is, I like calm Ryan. I like calm and collected and confident is what I would say he was in this race. And sometimes your pit crew wins the race for you. Sometimes the crew chief wins the race for you with a call. It was a little bit of a mix between the crew chief and the driver in the situation, but I would say 90% driver won this race. 10% crew chief having the guts to make the two-tire call at the end, knowing he had a really good car. Because on the 20s side of things, I don't know if they ran like the math and the statistics and saw like we might get a long green flag run to the end here, we're going to need the 4 tires. I think if that second caution doesn't come out and they don't have to make 2 restarts there and waste laps at the end, could be a very different outcome in this race, even if they get back going a little bit faster, because I think with one more lap, the 20 is at the 12. One more lap after that, I think the 20 potentially moves the 12 to go to win. So Ryan said himself, he's like, I held him off, but man, 1 or 2 laps more, I don't think I could have done it. But luckily, we didn't need that. So everything worked out perfectly. It's great to be on the right side of a late pit strategy call, because we've been on the other side of that too. We've been the team that's taken 4 tires before, and somebody's stayed out or somebody's taken 2 and stolen the win away. So everything happened perfectly, I think for a reason. And what do I always say, Steve? This team doesn't do things the easy way, right?
Oh, no. My wife said the same thing yesterday at some point. She said, wouldn't it be great if we just, when the races that we have the best car like this, and we know we have the best driver, where we just like kick everyone's butt all race long, stink up the show. Yeah, I don't know what that's like. That doesn't happen.
Iowa was the last time that happened.
Iowa probably was. You're right. Iowa, he led a bunch of the laps and did some dominating, but it doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen in the sport very often, let alone just the way that the things are set up. They want it to be competitive, and things have to happen once in a while. But 12 cautions, having tires at the end of those 12 cautions, it was pretty important, and it definitely paid off with the 2 tire stop they made.
So with that victory, it's his 18th career points-paying victory in the NASCAR Cup Series. Some other folks would like to note that he won the All-Star race in 2022. He also went to victory lane in a dual race as well at Daytona. So those are at least the checkered flags he's claimed while in the Cup Series along the way. Now, the talk of last week, again, I mentioned it earlier, was all about points, and we left points on the table, not getting stage points, and yada, yada, yada. Well, even with that, they moved up to 4th last week with the victory this weekend, and I believe 65 points earned on the day. Ryan Blaney has now supplanted Bubba Wallace to 2nd in the overall NASCAR Cup Series point standings, 60 points back behind the leader, Tyler Reddick. If memory serves me right, I think going into the race, he was 86 points back of Reddick. So he closed the gap himself. Reddick did over Bubba last week have a 70-point gap on 2nd. So that's closed down to 60 points. So that kind of is showing you that it is still within reach to battle for a regular season championship.
Kitty.
And we've mentioned it plenty of times. While some people think this format's bad for the Penske cars, Ryan Blaney and 7 DNFs in 2025 was 2nd in the regular season point standings by the end of it. So this is a team that knows how to get points.
Technically, he has 1 DNF already this year.
That's true. Daytona.
Look at that.
So overall, point standings for the Cup Series, Tyler Reddick again still holds the lead, 60 points over this week's winner, Ryan Blaney. Bubba Wallace falls to 3rd at 72 points back. Chase Elliott is 4th. Here's the guy that continues to be the surprise. And I tell you what, you talk about Ryan having a difficult day. Shane Van Gisbergen spun multiple times. It seemed like between SVG and Connor Zilic, those Trackhouse cars were driving angrily. And I don't mean the drivers, I mean the setup. I don't know what was going on there. There's one time when Ryan got up behind the 88 and he was all over the place. Just looks like he couldn't handle the car at all. Shane's, again, spun out multiple times, but he rebounded for an 11th place finish. So that 97 car sits 5th overall in the Cup Series point standings, 109 points back of the leader, Christopher Bell. We talk about what can happen early on in the season with the points being so tight, especially after it gets out of the top 5. Christopher Bell, with his stage win and great finish in this race, vaulted 18 positions to 6th overall in the standings, 112 back. He's tied with teammate Joey Logano, who's in 7th. I think Bell has the tiebreaker, but they're both 112 points back. 8th is Michael McDowell from Spire Motorsports. He's the only Spire car left in the top 10. I think last week, heading into this race, all 3 were in the top 10, but just 1 remains with McDowell in 8th. Chris Buescher is in 9th. Kyle Larson rounds out the top 10, 116 points back. The rest of the folks in the chase right now are William Byron in 11th. Denny Hamlin's up 11 spots into 12th. AJ Allmendinger fell 5 spots to 13th. Hocevar 4 spots down to 14th. Ty Gibbs with his strong run up to 15th, so he's into the chase. And Brad Keselowski fell 4 spots, 16th overall. In that bubble position, just on the outside looking in, is Daniel Suarez now, who went into this race 7th. He's 17th now. Notables that are still outside of the chase: Kyle Busch, who had a rough day, seemingly at the end looked like he was going to have a good day by the end of it, and then still ended up falling back to, I think, a early 20s or late teens finish. So Kyle Busch is in 20th. He's still outside of the top 16. Chastain is still outside of the top 16. Teammate Austin Cindric, he's had a rough go of it in this season so far. He's in 30th. Chase Briscoe, another guy in a big hole, 33rd overall. And then Alex Bowman, who sat out of this race with some medical issues, wasn't cleared to race, 36 overall, 202 points out from the lead. So unless he comes back this week, his chances of getting into the chase by the end of the season are very, very slim. And shout out to Anthony Alfredo. Up until he got crashed at the end of that race, he methodically made his way to the front, and he got crashed in the top 10 in a late race restart. So I was really impressed by what he was able to do in that car for Rick Hendrick on Sunday. So yeah, P2 overall, 3 straight top 10 since the DNF at the Daytona 500 in a victory. And I mentioned it at the top of the show. Earliest victory in the season for Ryan Blaney comes in race 4. I think previously his earliest one in the season was that Atlanta race that he won on the old configuration of the racetrack in 2021. So yeah, it's great to get a victory recap already on the board already in 2026, isn't it?
Yeah, the toast at Penske is going to be pretty good this week because I'll be able to toast 2 races, but definitely good when it's Ryan giving the toast. So yeah, this is a good start to hopefully what'll be a year's worth of just doing this over and over again. There's no reason they can't put a couple in a row, and definitely now with the new old points system, kind of, you're not going to race. Okay, at this point, you usually would just drop out for a couple weeks, try some things, experiment. Remember the one year that they want to race, the next week they failed tech, because we already got our win, right? Now there's no more of that. Now it's more about, like, people like Denny have said that you need to be in the top 3 or 4 probably at the end of the regular season to have a solid chance to win a championship. So that's what we're looking at now. Now it's more or less staying where we're at, gaining on the first place guy maybe, but by the end of 26 weeks, be up in that range. So you don't have a lot of ground to make up when the actual chase starts.
Yeah, and I think it was Jeff Gluck that posed the question on X over the weekend about why fans have been so receptive to this, going back to this point system, and why drivers are so kind of intense about it. And I think it circles all the way back to the win and you're in being eliminated. Because like you said, they could get their win, not really have to worry about it, experiment. And there was 2 sets of points you're looking at all year long. And even as a fan, I think that hurt things, because you'd be watching your driver. Oh, he's in 8th this week. Oh, he's in 9th. But then boom, somebody in 25th won the race, and they've gone up ahead of your driver. So it was hard to kind of keep track of both point standings. Now you have one list you're looking at, and your driver knows, it's great that we won. But if we want to have a legitimate chance at the championship, like you were just outlining, you have to finish in the top 5. You really have to have a shot. You have to finish in the top 3 to have a legitimate shot. So it's going to be interesting. And I think that's really what it was. It's like before you could just rest on the fact that, Ryan would win, halfway through the season or something, and we could kind of sigh of relief. Okay, at least he's in the playoffs. And then now they can regroup and make a run again like they did in 2023 or something like that, because that was still possible. And that's pretty much not possible anymore. But it's also, I think, it's what's just driving the interest in the point standings again. And I know part of it right now is because it's so tight. But for me, I don't see the interest waning because I am a little bit of a geek and like following that stuff. So I guess we'll see how it goes for the sport as a whole as we move through the season. One set of point standings we have to go through before we head over to our race preview of the weekend at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That is to recap the weekend at Phoenix Raceway for the Team Blaney Podcast NASCAR Fantasy Live League. I'll give you my starting lineup. I will note that I finished second overall last week at the road course at Coda, so I was coming into here with a little bit of swagger. Didn't have an awful week, but definitely didn't back up my performance of last week. So my starting lineup, I had Ryan Blaney got me 65 points. Kyle Larson got me 36 points. Denny Hamlin got me 47 points. William Byron got me 32. Ross Chastain got me 10. Here's my mistake. I was caught up with what was happening in the race, and this happens sometimes. Did not change my garage out when I should have, because guess who I leave in the garage? Christopher Bell. I left 54 points in the garage, and I could have swapped out. Chastain had crashed, I think, by that point, or Chastain was having a rough day already by that point. Should have swapped them, and that would have been a 44-point swing for me. That probably would have had me finish fairly well. So that's my fault. That's part of why I'm just bad at this. So usually when I'm at the track or something, I can blame it on Wi-Fi, but in this case, I had perfect Wi-Fi, and I didn't make the change. So take a look at my featured matchups. I had Larson over Reddick. That was right. I had Blaney over Bell. That was right. I had Hamlin over Logano. That was right. And the only one I got wrong on the day, I had Chris Buescher over Ross Chastain. Or I had Ross Chastain over Chris Buescher, sorry. That was incorrect. So I was 3 out of the 4 on the featured matchups. 35th overall with 220 points scored on the weekend. And yes, looking at the top 10, if I would have made that swap, I probably would have finished top 5, top 2 even with the change of points. So that was my boneheaded move of the week. So let's talk about your lineup.
Yeah, I had the stage 3 difficulty problem that happens.
Oh yeah.
I have Logano and Chastain getting knocked out of the race in stage 3. So there's no way of swapping anybody out. And who did I have in my garage that if I could have swapped him out? I had Kyle Larson, who ended up, he would have been 36 points. So that'd have been about a 26-point difference for me with the low, if I had swapped him out or had a chance to. I had Hamlin, I had Ryan, and I had Reddick. So I had some of the top point getters besides that. And then I got, once again, hammered by the cautions at the end here for the matchups too, because I had Chastain and I had Logano, and they both lost because they ended up in the crashes. I did have Reddick, and that was a loss too. Larson ends up finishing 3rd. And then I had Ryan, right? So I had one matchup right. So once again, there's probably 40 to 50 points that could have happened without there being an accident in stage 3 with those guys involved. But hey, overall, I love my fantasy, and doing it and kind of being proud of top 10s and being up there in the points and all that. But the truth is if I can sacrifice any of it for what the 12 does in the race, I'm fine with that too.
And you did 58th overall, a 3-way tie for 58th for you, 194 points on the weekend. So 2 weeks in a row, I beat you. That's exciting. That almost never happened.
Woo.
Let's take a look at the top 10 in points earned at the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League at Phoenix. We start with 10th. And our friend Jordan Daniels with 244 points on the weekend. Moose Hunter, 1960, was in 9th with 245. I'm a Little Loose was in 8th with 247. Ryan's Hope was in 7th with 250 points. Blaniacal and hashtag LGM and the Buckeye Bullet tied for 4th, 251 points on the weekend. Zero Schlitz Given and Denny Dumb Beep tied for 2nd. That's a new one I have to beep out. 255 points on the weekend, and then by a mile, Glitterbugs, 272 points, wins the weekend overall. So congratulations to them. Now let's take a look at the overall standings. I'm 10th overall, 773 points back of the lead, so that's pretty exciting. Let's take a look for you. Are 48th. We've flipped, Steve. It's early in the season, but I feel like our energies must have swapped here, so that's interesting. 48th overall, 698 points back, but still tight. The standings are still super tight. Take a look at the top 10 overall. Myself, again, 10th overall. Team Blaney host Adam, 773 points back of the lead. 9th is Blaney Kicks Beep, 778. Pit Stop Pro is in 8th at 779. Factory of Sadness 6 is in 7th, 794 on the year. We have a tie for 5th between Fike 21 and Ryan's Hope at 805 points. RF Blaney 12 is in 3rd. I think that's Jerry's team. He's tied with the Buckeye Bullet in 3rd, 824 points. Glitterbugs has jumped up to second overall, 836 points on the year. And Zero Schlitz Given holds on a marginal lead, 839 points. And that brings us, Steve, now to the weekend, the race weekend.
Oh, don't forget, you've cleared out a bunch of spots
That's
today,
true.
correct?
If anyone's watching right now, I know some folks have asked in the Discord. I cleared out earlier this morning 11 spots from the bottom of the league, and it was all people with zeros. So people that did not set a lineup at all in the 4 races to start the season. So I'm not sure where we're at on availability right now. Actually, we have 10. As we're recording this, we have 10 spots open. So only one of those was taken. So if you want to hop into the league, if you search for Team Blaney podcast on the NASCAR Fantasy Live website or on the app, you should be able to find us and join the league now. So 10 spots are available. So that, again, brings us now to the race weekend at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Things kick off on Saturday, March 14th. Practice and qualifying for the NASCAR Riley Auto Parts Series is starts at noon. The Cup Series gets on track in the afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time for practice from Las Vegas. Again, that's going to be streaming on the Prime app or on your Prime streaming service, however you get that. PRN Sirius XM NASCAR Radio on the radio. Qualifying follows at 3:40 p.m. Eastern time on Prime. This is a practice session you're going to want to tune into because the last several races here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, not just the 12 car, but several people have lost tires from pushing air pressures, and no one's learned their lesson. But specifically, the 12 car has had issues every race weekend so far. We'll go over that in a few minutes. But if there's a qualifying session that you want to tune into this year on an oval that might be interesting, it's this one. Then 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, you have the Liuna ! From Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. You can watch that race on the CW network, PRN, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio on the radio. Then Sunday, March 15th, we have the Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube, 4 p.m. Eastern time for the NASCAR Cup Series, streaming on Fox 1, on cable, on FS1. In-car cameras are available on HBO Max, PRN, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio on the radio. Pennzoil 400, Ryan is also coming to this race with the Pennzoil Menards paint scheme, and I'm sure Joey Logano will also have his Pennzoil scheme that he's won with multiple times, I think, in this race in that Las Vegas in general. So Ryan Blaney, Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 19 starts, 84 laps led. Sounds good. Average start, 14.3. Okay. Average finish, 15.2. That's fine. 3 DNFs. 6 top 5s. Sounds great. 10 top 10s. Sounds good. Let's stroll through finishes in the next gen era for the 12 team. 36, 28th, 13th. Okay. 6th, 3rd. Awesome. 32nd, 35th, 38th. Flat tire, flat tire, flat tire.
Flat tires in practice, right? I mean, before they even get to the, just, and then other people's mistakes too. I can remember Kozlowski taking him out in one of the races.
That's true. That's very true. One of those, it was a practice situation, and then in the race, it was not a tire. Yeah, he got clipped with Kozlowski spinning up out of the infield. So that is very true. That DNF wasn't specifically caused by a tire. But do you think the 4th race weekend in a row here, do you think they're going to have the camber figured out? Do you think they're going to have the air pressure figured out? I have a theory. Because When and You're In is gone, I think it might actually have these guys dialing this back. Because it's more important to finish races now and get as many points as possible. Whereas, again, before you could kind of skate your way through the rest of the season. And you can't do that anymore. So the risk, we always talked about it being a risk reward when it comes to lower air pressures, more grip, faster times. The risk has gotten extremely higher now.
They're looking across the garage and they're looking at the 45 car and they're trying to figure out in the next 22 races how to get past them in points. However they have to do it. So yeah, I don't think you mess around anywhere like you used to after you won a race. As a whole, as a group, they showed so much speed. All 4 cars actually last weekend. I see that continuing also. So this will be the first mile and a half of the year. So we'll definitely see what kind of if there were any kind of gains or things that they may have changed that are going to help them with setup or speed. So can't wait to see all that on display Saturday and Sunday.
Or is there any drivers that you're looking for? So we haven't really done this much this year, just talking about fantasy lineups ahead of time. Teams, drivers. I think, I mean, to me, I think Ryan's due here. They've always had a lot of speed. Again, they've just had these issues these last few years, but I think they have a lot of momentum coming into this race, a lot of speed overall. But I do think, as you kind of said, the Toyotas, they might be the teams to beat.
We're at another mile and a half. This one is not quite as high line, sensitive like as Miami is, but it's another mile and a half. And there are certain guys you look for the 5, 45, the 20 to run really, really well at the mile and a half at 23. Those are the guys you're looking at that, hopefully you have the same, if not better speed then, and can race with and around.
So again, if you want to tune in this weekend for the NASCAR Cup Series, they're on track 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You can watch practice on Prime. Qualifying follows at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time, also on Prime. The race is on Sunday, March 15th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for the Pennzoil 400 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, streaming on Fox 1, on cable on FS1, in-car cameras on HBO Max, PRN, SiriusXM, NASCAR radio on the radio. Well, Steve, I was very excited to do this today. First race win recap of the season. Hopefully many more. We got to do 4 overall last year. It'd be great to set that goal at 5 and beyond. I think the team has the speed to do it. I think clearly from that performance on Sunday, they've got the driver to do it. I made a post on our Team Blaney account that said, if anyone had questioned whether Ryan Blaney is among the elite drivers, especially in this era of NASCAR, but it's getting there on the stat sheet as overall. I think that question was answered with what he was able to put together in that race on Sunday. And I'm looking forward to many, many more to come and many, many more in 2026.
Yeah, this was a fun weekend. It's more fun when you do battle adversity and you win. It seems more satisfying for some reason, just because you overcame things and you persevered. Once again, I'm going to say persevered, because it shows the strength. It shows those kind of things, the qualities. Remember a couple years ago when Ryan's dad can see the path, kind of a thing, right? Well, it's the same thing on Sunday. This past weekend, things happened, and yet I still saw that they could do what they needed to do to get to the front, and they did it and executed it. Team and the driver and the car. So he made it fun without even really needing to make it fun. It was a great weekend.
So thank you everyone for tuning into this episode of the Team Blaney podcast, especially those of you that are tuning in live on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok live during the week and on race day. You can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search for Team Blaney. We'd also like to encourage you to support the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation. Ryan's official charitable organization benefits brain health causes like UPMC Sports Medicine and the Alzheimer's Association. To learn more, visit RyanBlaneyFamilyFoundation.org or follow them on Facebook, X, and Instagram. So for my co-host, Steve Mez, I'm Adam Rogers. We'll catch you next time right here on the Team Blaney podcast.
Hey, check out Adam this week on TikTok. He'll be going live in the next couple days, showing you Vegas and showing you how to run Vegas on the TikTok. So make sure you check out the TikTok for that. And good night, Brisbane.